Hey, it's your boy Sir Rod coming to you with another edition of the Sir Rod Show podcast. I could not possibly do this podcast without my trusty companion, Just Tori.
Hello, hello.
How are you, Just Tori? How's your day?
I'm good. How are you, Sir Rod?
I am.
You gotta be great. We're doing a podcast.
Well, I didn't say what I am. I just said I am. Okay. Not to be confused with the great almighty I am that I am. Right. But I am Sir Rod, so, you are. That speaks for itself. You are. So let me say this to you. Have you ever had a pattern that you find yourself in life that you can't seem to break? And when I mean by pattern, I'm talking about in a negative sense. I'm not referring to something positive, but something negative that you know for all intents and purposes you should break, you should not participate in, but it just seems like it keeps repeating itself.
I have.
Have you? Were you successful in breaking them? Some. Just say some. Say some. None? All of them bad still?
No, I have maybe a couple.
A couple. Have they ever been in the form of a relationship?
No.
Never. Well, listen, let me tell you something. There once was a little boy named Sir Rod.
I'm a quick learner.
There once was a boy named Sir Rod.
Okay.
And he had a few situations that, try as he might, I would find myself back in the same addictive pattern. And so I don't know if it was necessarily an addiction.
You like what you like?
It wasn't. Well, I do have an addictive personality.
Okay.
I know that. That's why drugs never worked for me, because I knew that if I ever tried, I probably would be a crackhead. I'd probably be
crackhead.
Oh, I'd be around here just doped up.
Scratching.
Oh, with everything. We got some more of that good stuff. So to talk about addictive patterns, I wanted to bring on a young lady that knows a thing or two about it.
That's good, because maybe I had them and I don't even.
You don't know what they are.
I didn't even realize I had it.
She knew so much about them, she decided to write a book.
All right now.
Okay, so as you see on the screen there, this is Mrs. Let me not. I don't want any of our. I don't want any of our callers or watchers to think that
all
there's an opportunity.
DMs.
Don't get all in their business. Don't. It's Miss. Okay, all right. Okay. It's Miss Terica Williams. Yes. We want to welcome you to the Sir Rod Show.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Terica.
Tarika.
That's right. Taureca. Got it.
Tarika.
Okay. See, I was good in spelling in school.
Beautiful.
So, tell us who you are. Let's not get into the book yet.
Okay.
Who are you? What do you do for profession?
Okay. Well, I wear many titles, many hats. I'll start first. I'm a mother. Okay.
Of how many?
One.
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 Oh, is it harder having one than? Well, they say it's harder having one than it is multiple. Because she has friends and family that has multiple.
How would she know it's hard?
Because no. Because I have parented one child by itself at a time, and it was a lot of work. Oh my God! Because you have to do everything. Oh, you have to do everything. You got to be their friend. You have to be their parent. You got to play with. I'm gonna say, you answer.
Okay. Is it hard?
With my one, it was as if I had multiple, because she was a very involved and engaged child.
Is that the same as saying bad? Engaged?
No.
Okay.
She was in a lot of activities, extracurricular activities,
Okay.
Activities, ballet, track,
Gotcha.
AAU track,
How old
high
is
school
she?
track.
I'm hearing this is she. So how old is she now?
She's 18.
Wow.
She just finished her first year at USF.
All right.
Yeah.
What are those bulls?
I won't hold that against her.
The bulls?
Bulls.
All right.
Exactly.
All right, bulls.
You know I'm a UCF night.
I know that. I know
Okay.
it. I know it.
Yeah, we do have the I-4 war.
Yeah.
USF and UCF.
Yeah.
They have,
I think we won.
But because her money is going to
But I'm not
USF, I'm sure you're a bull all the way.
She should be.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what made it challenging, having that one. Okay.
Yes.
So talk to us. So
Well, better
a
tell us
mother,
about her other hats.
You're a mother, right?
A mother.
And?
I'm an educator.
Okay. For how long?
20 years.
20
Just
years.
finished my 20th year.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
And your battle pay is coming.
Listen, and that's what I've been
And your battle pay,
asking.
yeah.
Like, where is that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
front
it takes a
line.
lot. So what ages do you teach?
I teach 10th grade.
Currently.
Okay.
Have you always taught high school?
No, it's been a total of, I want to say 12 years high school.
Okay.
And then the other was middle school.
Okay. So now let me ask you this, because as our viewers can see, now, so when you get into the high school, because I have other friends who are educators, and I ask them the same question, so I don't want you to think that's not a normal question for Sir Rod.
Okay.
So when you have the football player and he comes up to you, hey, Ms. Williams, how you?
I don't play them
No,
games.
so your energy does not even.
No,
Okay.
we're not shifting.
Got you.
And listen,
Yes.
we're not even dealing with addictive patterns.
Absolutely.
But it can take us there.
This is
when
where I was
you're
going with
dealing
it. Absolutely.
the young kids, you just have to be firm and let them know, no, this is not what we're doing. But I'm sure, have witnessed situations where you have teachers. You're seeing it today on the news.
Absolutely.
Where the men, they are falling for the young ladies. The women, they falling for the young men. They've gone to jail.
Absolutely.
Been sexually active with them, whatever the case is.
Well, that's where I was going with that, because when you have that void, as you discuss in your book, when you have that void and the need for someone to validate you, you will find yourself taking on the advances of a child
get this
to you.
pat on the back and just see.
Yeah. And did you
keep it
turn his
moving.
paper in? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So what other
as
hats
an
we have?
educator,
Oh, we're gonna talk
yeah,
about. I'm sorry.
you're an educator, and then
Educator, entrepreneur.
okay.
Okay.
Yes.
In what capacity?
I own some properties.
Okay.
I had a child care facility for 10 years. And so now one of those, I just simply, somebody else run a daycare out of my property in the Eatonville area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see, touching on home care.
Okay. Home health?
Well, we'll just say home care. Basically just providing those from the community to be able to, I guess you would say, have somewhere to stay.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
With the funds that they are able to receive, because everybody don't make the same thing. And it's kind of hard sometimes for one person to be able to afford somewhere to stay. So if it's a home where a couple of them are able.
So like group housing, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
We kind of just stay away from that term and just keep it simple, maybe a transition home care, whatever the case is. But yeah, we can sum it up like that.
So now with all these hats, okay, now in personal life, does that leave time for dating? Does that leave time for husband? What does that leave time for?
Okay, well, there was once upon a time a husband.
Once upon a time, okay.
Okay. Addictive Patterns came about from a death of a relationship.
Okay.
Yes.
I like the way she worded that, a death of a relationship.
I love that.
And I say that because when people get divorced, that's what I oftentimes tell them, because there's a grief process in any relationship that goes awry, because you've had plans, you've had dreams for different outcomes, and then when it doesn't come out that way, it's like a grief, right? Okay, so the book came out of
Now
death
she's
of a
an
relationship?
author. Right. So that's what
another title.
birthed the author, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the first? Is this the first?
The first book.
Okay, so
right.
tell us. So you're what? You're home. You're lying in bed. You're out. When did the idea? I need to write a book.
I would say probably about 7-8 months later is where I got this thunder to write this book. And it was from basically being out and about. We were still with our regular routines of things. And when I say we, my daughter and I, still out and about. And then it was like all of a sudden, this thunder, thoughts in my mind from me seeing various ones being disrespected. And I think it was more so, and I mentioned that in a book, where the volume seemed like it just was turned up. And maybe because I was currently in the situation to where it became more noticeable. Gotcha. And I always use the example when you get a new car and you're driving this car, and all of a sudden, because you're in this particular type of car, you notice
other cars.
So many,
yes,
absolutely.
that's just like that.
Absolutely.
So that's what was actually going on in my head. So, hey, it was just like, okay, I think I need to write this to educate, to share my story. Not only that, I felt like to remind others, because you might have been taught this, but because you're so, I don't know, engaged, you are so wrapped up.
You're in the thick of it.
Right.
Right.
To where you don't see, you know how others can see what's going on, you know, on the outside looking in. So that was the
It's kind of like to your analogy of the car. Oftentimes, to your point of you don't see certain things, you'll think, oh, I'm buying this red candy apple red vehicle. I don't see any like that. The day you buy it,
oh my God,
you see nothing but red of the same car, right? So a lot of times when you get out of a situation, you're like, how didn't I see that? You were in the habit of collecting red flags,
Right.
as opposed to saying, oh, red flag means leave. No, you were like, oh, I'm create a new hobby. I'm just going to collect all these red flags. So when you realize, okay, I need to write a book, what was that journey like? Did you push away from dating or anything and say, I'm just going to focus on what I have experienced so that I don't add new?
Right. I think it was, let's see, well over a year. I wasn't entertaining, you know, people definitely was putting their bids in.
Correct.
But I was not entertaining them. Just simply trying to get back on track mentally. Because I mentioned in the book, like my hustle didn't stop.
Right.
Because my child was my fuel.
Hello. And you had to feed that
Yes,
child. That's
exactly.
Right. That's right.
She depended on me.
Right.
And I always say, if you're not okay, and I say you, meaning the mother,
adult, correct.
you know, whomever it is that is taking care of the child, if
Right.
you're not okay,
Absolutely.
then your family isn't
Absolutely.
okay. So with that being said, you know, I had to make sure we were good. So the hustle didn't stop as far as how I make my money.
Did the hustle come into play? Did the hustle come into play in regards to relationship issues?
The hustle, and I guess it depends on from which point of view you're looking at it from. But as far as when we talk about money, I feel like it saved me. Like one thing my mom always would tell me, save your money so that your money can save you.
Hello, somebody.
And
Come
that
on,
was
Mama.
a true testament during this process. That's what I fell back on, you know, because now no longer now am I able to count on his
Sure.
income.
Right,
That's
right.
no longer a part of the household bill or budget.
Right.
So from that aspect, that was a part. But then, let's see, the budget. No, what else did you say? The hustle.
The hustle, yes.
As far as the day-to-day grind, of course, that had to continue.
Right.
What other aspect you
When what I'm asking you is when you were dating and you saw some of these patterns, do you think that you encountered some of these particular patterns because you were focusing on the hustle, or did you feel the patterns had nothing to do with the hustle?
I don't know. And this is during the dating situation. You mean like the aftermath?
Dating or
is
marriage?
That what you say?
Dating or marriage? Just when you look back over your shoulder and you know, because hindsight is 20/20. When you look back and you think about it, was I hustling too much, or if I wasn't hustling so much, would I have seen different things, or perhaps even been able to prevent some of the patterns from reoccurring?
I think it could be a combination, but I don't think that I hustled so much to where I didn't intentionally date. And when I say date, in my marriage as well, you know, because I feel that that's something that you should do and make time for your mate.
Absolutely.
So I think that was pretty much balanced. At the end of the day, I basically feel like if a person isn't to continue with you this life journey, then no matter what you do, you can be a stay-at-home mom, you know, cook his dinner
Cut
every
flips and
night,
everything
whatever
else.
the case is, stand on top
Do
of your
back
head.
flips,
If it
absolutely.
ain't for you,
That's
it's
right.
not for you.
Correct.
So,
So now, what made you decide to write the book from the angle of I don't want to say not victim. How did you process how you were going to share your story?
Well, first, I put some thoughts down on paper, tried to gather my thoughts, and the fact that I waited, almost a year before actually writing, I feel that was a good thing because I didn't want to be writing out of anger or bitterness.
Okay.
So I felt like I had a clear mind.
Gotcha.
And I wanted to include research,
Gotcha.
Provide evidence.
Right.
I don't want to just be, pointing that finger, him,
Right.
because it was some she.
Right.
So, basically, I guess having, like I said, that clear mind, that clear conscience, being at peace with myself.
Was this like a grieving process for you as well?
Yes, like therapy.
Writing this stuff down?
Yes, therapy within itself. I just think it was just a combination of things, being able to get it out.
So writing it down, is that when you start to see the patterns?
Yes, and it allowed me to go back and reflect. My dad
During that year time. During that year time.
and before it was over, it wound up being like 2 years.
Gotcha.
But like my dad always say, introspect. You want to introspect.
That's right.
You might be listening to someone's story or their testimony, whatever the case is, but you want to introspect.
Absolutely.
Before you put the blame or
Absolutely.
before you point the finger.
You know what I always tell people, you'll hear someone say something, say about you, yourself. And the first thing that a person does if they don't like it is they throw it away. Right. Well, like they used to say, chew the meat and spit out the bones. Is there any truth in it? If there's truth in it, extract it, apply it to yourself, and then the part that doesn't apply.
But you got to be open to that feedback too.
Absolutely.
And I think that's
you have to
why
be an
we
adult
spit it
about
out
it.
sometimes.
Yeah, because a lot of
if you're
people
not open to receiving the feedback, you're not.
Correct.
You're gonna spit it all out.
And you may not like the feedback.
Yeah. Now, but I like what you said though, because I think she said it took her a while. It took you a while, and you probably did spit out, and then you had to go back and say, "Okay, I got to choose some."
Were there people that told you don't?
Place.
Were there people that told you don't write your book?
Yes.
Did you share it? Like sometimes we keep it in, and you don't want. Did you share it? Like, hey, I'm working on this book, or was it more you told people afterwards?
It was basically before. We was pretty much say 75%.
So you kept it to yourself.
Yes, but there were family members that knew the process that I was taking part in.
And how was that?
And a couple people will say, a couple people was like, "You're gonna tell this story?
Do it, girl.
You're really gonna tell it?"
Right.
And I think I mentioned that in here. I was like, yeah, because it's gonna free me.
Right.
It's gonna help others. Like I mentioned, I can't. It's almost like a Beyonce moment. Sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah.
I can't help that you are a part of this story. Like I can't.
Right.
I can't detach the flesh from the actual manifestations that took place.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You should have thought about that when you were living your life with me. This might be a book. So yeah.
Yeah.
So if you ever make a book, then you'll know. Oh, I was in that. Yeah.
So would you say your book is more self-help?
It is.
What is it?
It's a self-help.
So let's get into the book. Talk to us. What is Addictive Patterns?
Well,
when someone asks you to describe your book, what is that answer?
In summation, Addictive Patterns basically is, like I say, a conglomeration of signs, patterns, principles, lessons, just all wrapped up in one. And it takes us back to relationships, but we don't want to directly go to those romantic relationships. We want to start with the relationship with your mother, your father, or for some, the lack of a relationship.
which is your foundational base.
Exactly.
Yeah, because everything else builds upon that.
Correct. And statistics show that that's where it comes from.
Right.
Basically, how you treat others or whatever the case is, it stems from that.
Absolutely.
That's why we have therapy. That's why we have counseling, those type things to help those that might have had a traumatic experience growing up to correct, and rectify some of those situations that cause us to have those unhealthy relationships.
So give us an example of how you would recognize a pattern. Be it a friendship, relationship, intimate relationship, platonic relationship.
Well, automatically, it's something that's repetitive. Sometimes you find that when something happened, you dismiss it. It's almost like, did I see that? And, we might dismiss it from there. You see it again, the question again, but now that seed has been planted
the first time.
Right. Maybe that third time, you're questioning it now, like, what do I do? Do I, verbalize it? Am I going to be done with it? Right. Those kinds of things. But first is something that's repetitive. And I always, because even though this book deals with the negative, but you also, have positive patterns as well. And sometimes that positive is what feeds you. Maybe it's the anxiety or whatever the case is, where it causes you maybe to do well on a test.
Correct.
This nervousness or whatever the case is.
Right.
Some people, they do well.
Become an overachiever based off of that.
Correct.
But now, oftentimes, when you just said the book focuses on the negative, now, and I don't have a problem if we're just addressing the negative compartment of it, because oftentimes you'll have friends and they'll get ready to say something about, like, Just Story. They may say, I don't like Just Story. They may be trying to give a compliment, but they'll take the they may say something that Just Story did that they don't like. But then but she's a nice person. We don't need to get into that. Let's just stick to what the issue is for now. Right?
Yeah, right.
And so I think oftentimes we're in this society where we're always trying to balance it off. Oh, I really do like you. Listen, you can say I stepped on your toe without saying, I'm a jackass, right? I may be a jackass, but we ain't talking about that right now. We're talking about you stepped on my toe. Let's just stick with that. So with the negative patterns, for me, it's like, they used to have the adage when they would say, first time you get me.
Yeah.
That's shame on you. Second time, shame on me. Okay? They were teaching us about patterns, and we just didn't know what they look like until we get, a book here that shows about addictive patterns. So when you start seeing something that continues to come around, give us some suggestions on how do you, as you just stated, identify it. Then once you identify it, then what do you do?
With me, well, okay. We'll say I feel like you need to verbalize it, let whatever the situation is, the problem, I think you need to address it with the person. Let them know how you're feeling. Express your emotions, express your feelings. And this can take us back to, say, a child in the classroom. As us, as we have children, we want to allow them to be able to express themselves, express their
To a point.
To a point. But listen, this is what I say to my parents, because sometimes as parents, because we go back to, I don't know if we want to call it the back in the day, how our parents raised them and how their parents raised. Right. Where a child could not stay in a child's place.
Absolutely.
Okay?
You had no
so
voice.
It didn't matter if you had a meat temper, if you was respectful, calm, you
couldn't say anything.
Right.
It didn't matter.
So it automatically came off disrespectful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But nowadays, I call it we're in the Me Too.
Absolutely.
So our child, we allow them to express themselves, but, being respectful. We ain't raising our voices or nothing like that, But sometimes as parents, we're still stuck in the back in the day to where we don't receive
it's a pattern.
Either way.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
No. Well, I just wanted to say about that also, there are certain parents that are stuck. This is how I did it. It was good enough for me. But also, I think that the modern parents, there's a far extreme. I'm not going to be anything like my parent. So they go to this far extreme and they let their child say anything they want to, when they want to, how they want to. So we have to balance that, and I don't think that we're really doing well with balancing, but that's another show. That's another show.
pattern.
That's another pattern. Because what happens then when you allow someone, if you give them an inch, they take a whole mile. Well, they're not really taking a mile. You're kind of giving them a mile. And if you look back at your life, you'll probably see a pattern of when you weren't allowed to sit at the table with everyone at school. So you began to come and bring something and, buy your way in. And I think that there's patterns that date back so far. Like for me, I was a people pleaser. And then I started realizing I'm giving more than I'm receiving. Mm-hmm. And I started feeling it didn't matter whether it was I had been friends with somebody for 3 weeks or 3 years, I would always feel exhausted. Because when I would look at the friendship, the pattern was I was always the Johnny on the spot, going to do it for you, going to be there for you.
One-sided.
One-sided. Or I was a 5-gallon, they're a pint size, and I'm expecting from a pint size person what a 5-gallon, right? And then I'm frustrated. And they're like, I gave you everything I had. I mean, so Rod, how much more you need? I had 100%.
What's wrong?
Yeah. And so I had to learn to watch those patterns. Like now at this stage in the game, sitting at 50, I know now, balance it out. Mm-hmm. I don't sit and wait for them to give everything, and I'm not giving everything. It's a mutual reciprocity. So when you get to the point, you say it, you verbalize it, and then is that predicated on how that person receives it? What you do next? Your next.
What's the next move?
I think it could alter it, but at the same time, I feel like, the objective is just getting it off your chest.
I really don't give a flying flip how you handle that.
Right. Because,
Okay. So it's for you, it's not for them.
Right.
Okay.
But also for them, but rather, like you say, whether they acknowledge it or not, that's on them.
Right.
But you've shared it, you've let them know, and it's up to them if they are going to move forward and make those changes, or if we're going to continue this toxicity. Yeah. Or, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think just sharing it.
So you already shared it, right? Mm-hmm. So you acknowledge it, you share it. Then what's the next step after that? Is it?
I think it's back on the person to decide what their next step is.
So how do you stop the pattern?
Get out of it.
So if it happens again after you shared it, and then it happens again, that's when you get out, or do you give that?
Well,
I guess it depends on when you give that grace.
And it depends on who it is, because sometimes getting out is not an option. It might be your relative.
I feel like it could depend on the severity.
Okay.
Severity. That's just like a teacher and a student, right? Mm-hmm. If a child, some type of disciplinary action, you call home. After you call home, maybe a detention. Yeah. After detention.
After the detention?
Uh-huh. Yes, after the detention. A referral, right? So there's a disciplinary action, as you would say. Right. Yes, progress, step by step. But then if it's something that basically harms the other students, put the other students at risk, we're not going to take part in this step by step.
You got to go ahead, and we may go from 0 to 100,
we gotta get
depending
you out.
on what it is.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I feel the severity of it would be...
Determines what's what.
Exactly.
Okay, so now once you verbalize it, identify it, and make whatever necessary choice, whether I'm going to drop you, whether I'm getting another chance, how do you make sure you don't lose yourself while these patterns are being displayed upon you?
Jumping straight to it, I think you need to have some type of spirituality. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Of course, I could say that you seek counseling. Mm-hmm. It may be you just speaking.
It's an addiction, right?
Right. Yeah. And when you have an addiction, when you are sick, whatever the case is, you seek counseling, you seek help. You go to the doctor. Yep. You know what I mean? So if you go to the doctor for your physical health, I feel like you need to go to the doctor for your mental health.
Right.
Whatever that looks like for you. Like I said, it could be just you speaking to another person, confiding in them. Mm-hmm. Or you might want to spend money on a therapist or counselor, whatever the case is, or some type of divine intervention, you know. Right. Whatever that looks like for you, because of course, you have a lot of people where they may go to church, they go to Bible class, picking up the Bible.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Whatever
right.
the case is. So some type of spirituality. Because
Some center grounding. Some center grounding.
Exactly.
Right. If you sit by the tree, if you sit out by the water, whatever you do to ground your core is what you're saying. They need to tap into, because to your point, just Tori, as you stated, it's an addiction. And so when you look at some people like drama. Some people, they like drama only because that's what they're familiar with.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's routine to them. It's like,
Yes.
I deal with the crazy I know, as opposed to going out to meet a new crazy.
But if I like drama, is that?
That's your crazy. But go ahead now.
But is that my crazy?
That's your crazy.
Because I like drama.
That's your
Your
crazy.
norm.
That's my norm.
Yeah, it is. But
It may be crazy to you,
Yes.
but to me,
see,
it's
the problem
normal.
is with your crazy, you don't tend to keep it to you. You tend to give it to all of us. That's where it becomes a problem there. So
So
yeah.
is that my addictive pattern because I like drama?
Yes.
Is that will maybe I have some.
You can label it.
Maybe it's,
But we're not talking about when you like to
no,
watch
I'm just
World
saying,
Star or
though,
something
but
like
if
that.
it's my norm, right? If it's my norm,
Right. But that
So-
goes back to
because
the
I'm
point
thinking
of
of
foundation.
addictive patterns is something that's harmful to me, my mental health or my physical health.
Not
That's what I'm
necessarily only to
thinking
you
of, right?
though.
But
Go ahead,
that's how
Tarika.
I'm taking it, as if I have an addictive pattern, it's something that's harmful to me. If I'm attracted to drama,
But you could be inflicted
I
on your
feel
children
like-
or your spouse.
but again, it's looking within myself. I'm thinking I'm not seeing it yet, right? I don't see
Perhaps.
it. Maybe if I harm someone else, maybe if my kids grow up and I realize, oh crap,
Yeah.
they go to therapy and I'm sitting in there and I'm like, oh,
Hey, look,
You know,
you're in therapy and they're like,
but
you're the problem.
that
Mom.
could be 20, 30 years.
It could be.
I don't cause this issue and I didn't realize it. Right. And that
Exactly.
was my wake up call.
Right.
Yes.
That's
I
like you
feel-
said, it's my norm. I'm thinking, drama seems to come to me. Okay, let's do this.
Mm.
And I
Right?
feel as families, we should have those sit downs, those round table discussions.
And say, girl, you know you're crazy. Yeah, that's what we should do.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I had to sit down with my son once because I felt like I would ask him stuff, and I was like, when I ask you these questions,
Right.
is it causing you anxiety?
Right.
And he looked at me and was like, yes.
Right.
And I apologized, and I was
Right.
like, what's the best way
For me
to get you to wash these dishes? No, it was like, how should we communicate?
Gotcha.
Because I saw it in him,
Yeah.
and he couldn't get it out, and I was
Right.
like, let's take a deep breath.
Gotcha.
And that was an eye opener. And he was like 13, and I was like, okay, the way I'm speaking to you is
That might have been
causing
something
you.
else. So go ahead.
No, but I'm just saying, like, but for me to see it in his face and how,
Sure.
and I didn't want him to grow up to just tell me what I want to hear.
Right.
And I'm trying to dig.
Right.
And I said, okay, let's stop.
Right.
What I'm doing and asking these questions, how are you feeling?
But see, that in
And he was able
itself,
to
that in
communicate
itself though is
to
you
me of that.
looking
Yeah.
for the pattern. That's
Yeah.
that introspection. Okay. Because you have to realize, one, I think it's always important to know that you can be wrong.
Yes.
I think I'm really big on that. Just, you can be wrong. You don't always,
Mm-hmm.
you can't always be right. Even sometimes when you think you're doing right, it could be harming someone else. Okay.
And I
So
think when I
could
saw
be-
it in his face, I was like, okay.
yeah, you realize
I'm
something's off.
communicating this.
Yeah. Because it's kind of like
wasn't
if
doing the
I'm
right
trying to
thing.
talk with you and your reaction is so explosive, I should at some point in time pause and
What
say,
did I say, or how did I say
maybe
that?
it wasn't so much
Yeah.
her reaction as opposed to what did I say, right? But
cause
to the point of the pattern, if I grew up in a household where everyone argued and I'm arguing with you, you're thinking, wow, he argues a lot. I may be thinking,
I'm communicating.
I never argued. This is the way we talk, right?
Your norm.
The norm.
That's what I get
Right,
at. That's
right.
your norm.
Right. And so that's when you have to have people around you, to your point, that you trust.
Yeah.
And as you were stating in the book, you have to have that circle that holds you accountable to, hey,
Hey, you know, everybody don't yell at each other all the
right,
time.
right. And then you have to pause and say, okay, if you've had 5 relationships and 4 of them have broke up because, you know, you're quick tempered or you put your hands on somebody or you manage money or whatever it is,
Yeah.
then there's a pattern there, right? And
It's
now,
not them, it may be you.
right, and you have to go back to find out from the foundation, where did this come from? Why am I this way? You know.
And I think that's where you come. Therapy, you may have to, or find some type of spirituality.
Well,
to
I'll
get
tell you
there.
one pattern of my own, just a moment of transparency here. my mother, and I think I've shared this with your story before. My mother, when I would get in trouble as a child, would go silent. She wouldn't talk to you. Drove me crazy. Then when I started dating, guess what type of women I was dating? Same type. And so to present day wife gets angry, go silent. When we were dating, I said, whoa, that won't work. Wait, that's not going to work. Tell me, let me know where we stand so that way I know. But I realized that pattern kept coming to me.
I think that's just us as women, FYI.
No. Well, it probably is.
She don't want to say it.
Yeah, it probably.
I'm gonna say it.
It probably is.
But we just go
some
quiet.
patterns come to you.
Because if we don't go quiet,
they're not
break
necessarily
loose.
what you're doing, right? And so I think when we look at addictive patterns, we can't only just look at ourselves. We have to look at what keeps coming to you. Because I'm a big proponent of when life keeps throwing the same lesson to you, it's something you're not learning.
You got to stop.
It's something you're not learning. And so for me, previously in previous relationship, I would blow a gasket because I was angry with my mother. I couldn't say to her, just talk to me, tell me what the problem is.
Oh yeah, you can't say that to your mom.
Right, I couldn't say not
I know
to
your
mine.
mom.
Not to mine. That wouldn't have happened. There would be no Sir Rod show.
Oh, it would be a laugh.
That would have been
We're sorry to inform you.
Yeah, he probably would have got a podcast at one day. That's probably what we be talking about now because that wouldn't have happened.
Your mama don't play.
No, that at all. And so I knew then these patterns kept coming at me, right? So I then, to your point, I had to communicate it. Listen, that doesn't work for me. I can be wrong, and I'm okay with you telling me I'm wrong, but I need you to tell me.
And I think that's what we said at the beginning, right? That foundation is
Yes.
how you grew up, your parents. If you had both parents or not, I think that's the foundation. And that's why you reacted that way, because you
Correct.
couldn't reach out
Absolutely.
and yell at your
There was
mom.
nothing I could say. Right.
But you can yell, speak to your spouse.
I can tell you off the top. So we don't get there. Now, if you continue to do it after we've had this conversation, then now you're giving me a pattern I don't want. Right. So now
did you trigger you to say, I think I'm dating my mom?
More than once.
Okay, maybe that's where
More
it came
than
from.
once.
Let's move
because
on to the
things do
next
come to you. Because
pattern.
things do
Yeah.
come to you based on.
But that is something also that I briefly touch on in the book. But from the perspective of women, how we basically are attracted to our dad, whether he was present or not. It might be a physical attraction, whether he was short, tall, the physical physique,
Right.
or the personality.
Right.
It could be one of those type things.
Right.
We typically fall for that.
And men do it as well.
Yeah,
Men do
your
it as well
dad
with women.
treated you was the first man to treat you, make you feel special.
Perhaps. No, I'm saying perhaps because.
But that's what I'm saying though, or like you say, like I'm looking for that male attention now, or that type of affection. But at the same
you're
time,
always
I think
right kind of thing. We have to do another podcast on that too because moms and dads do a disservice to their children in that capacity. And those develop patterns because the dad allows the daughter to think the son does not get up until she puts her feet on the ground. So she goes around with this false sense of, I'm everybody's queen. No, you're not, punky. No, you're not. Your breath stink in the morning and you fart and it stinks too.
But the first man she looked at told her she was.
Told her she was everything.
He wouldn't lie to her.
And he definitely couldn't lie to her. And then the females, what they do with the sons is they almost idolize him. He's the man of the house. So he grows up 5 years old thinking
like
he's
the man we want.
Absolutely. So then if another man even moves in, it's like, hold on, you need to get behind my son. That ain't going to happen. Not with a grown man. That ain't going to happen. Your son come out, the son on the front porch. Why you put my baby out there? Because I told him to clean up their yard. So, those are patterns that we see over and over. So now when you wrote the book, after a year of writing the
2
book,
years,
you said?
right? 2?
Well, the first year was her.
I guess you would say
her healing
getting my
process.
mind right.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
that's
get your
it.
mind right.
The healing
Okay.
process. But it only took me 7 months to actually write the book.
Oh, you had some stuff on your mind. Let me write
7
this down real
months,
quick.
and then from there, finishing the process of the editing, that type thing. But it was written.
So now the book is done.
It's
Do
done.
you feel lighter? Do you feel, oh my God, how do I walk around?
I definitely feel lighter. I'm thankful and I'm glad that I did move forward with that thought that was thundered.
Gotcha.
And here we are today. I've been getting a lot of feedback from women. They see themselves, in the story that I have
What about
told.
men? Have men told you?
Yes,
they see
the
themselves?
same thing with men. And I've enjoyed the honesty from the men, that have expressed, that they used to do these things. Some say that they still do these things, but they're trying to get it together. Because one of the main things I talk about in here, because I give them kudos, especially to the men that have been there for their child, rather, they're with the woman or not.
Right.
But, they share out their story as far as that, where they might have, gone wrong or whatever the case, because the woman has made it difficult for them
That's
to see the
another
child.
show.
Yeah,
Let's
another.
write that down, Phil. We want to do a show on that. I'm talking to the editor right now. Carry on. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I've gotten feedback from the male just as much as the women. I'll say more so women, but there's been a lot of guys as well.
Do you believe a person has to have a rock bottom moment to break a negative pattern?
For some, I don't know if I would
Or a come to
completely
Jesus meeting.
call it a rock bottom, but have been knocked off their rocker. We'll say it like that. I always say, listen to that small, still voice. And sometimes there are different things that do happen in your life that cause you to just be still.
Gotcha. Can you tell us about a time you had that moment where your knees locked up and said, okay, we're not going another further right here. We're going to stop right here and we're going to process this?
I would say, let's see. Well, most current, like I said, the death. But before then, just, I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to.
The death.
Yeah.
The death.
That's it.
So now, when did you, after the death of the relationship, how long did the relationship last?
7 years.
7
we were
years.
married 7 years, together 8 years.
Okay, so after 8 years, you get out of that and you do a sabbatical for. Okay, so now with the getting your mind right and deciding to write the book, when you finish with the book, do you notify said individual, hey, I got a book out, and you may be the subject of said book?
No, I notified my attorney.
Well, there it
And
is.
we discussed to make sure.
Everything was gotcha.
And
Okay.
I spoke with my publishing company to make sure
Gotcha.
everything was aligned. And I didn't have to worry about,
So basically,
Any
you're saying
ramifications?
you didn't give a damn about what you thought.
in a nice way.
Legally.
Okay.
Legally.
And if you try to cut up,
Yeah, I already dotted all my
Right.
I's.
Because at this point,
because it's not about you.
Right. We're trying to get a story across. We're trying to help others, help our
Heal,
community.
set free.
You know,
Absolutely.
male, female. We're trying
Right.
to help the community, because I always say it's the children that are the biggest losers
Absolutely.
when
Absolutely.
there's a situation between
Adults.
in a relationship,
absolutely.
regardless,
Absolutely.
because sometimes we're so big on trying to get our point across to where we forget that we have babies looking at
Absolutely.
us. Rather,
Absolutely.
they came from your loins,
Absolutely.
or you adopted them,
Correct.
or you stepped them.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
I like to say, there was no stepping anything,
Absolutely.
no half stepping,
Absolutely.
because once we did this union
It's
thing,
a one. It's
right?
a one, right.
So,
And I always say, you don't eat off my step bed. You don't eat under my step. You don't sleep
Right.
under my step roof.
Right.
But now, and also to your point about, I'm learning this. Now, this is probably a 2-year lesson that I've learned here. Probably, it's only about 2 years that I learned this. Maybe I knew it, but I never considered it. When your children sit with other children, the children in the family, and they sit and talk about what happens in each household,
Oh yeah.
it's like, now I remember being a child and doing that. Well, I don't think we really did it because our household was kind of boring. And my dad died when I was 7, and my mother never remarried, so we didn't have any drama to really discuss. So we would listen to other family members discuss their drama. We'd be like, "What? They did what? You got somebody living in the house?" But now to be older and having a child that's sitting around with her peer group, and they're like, yeah, my parent did this and my dad did this. And it's like, whoa, be careful. Because now you're creating patterns, and you don't want any of those negative patterns, And then years later, you're like, where did you get that from? Actually, we just see that every Thursday night when such and such would happen or whatever. So those are the
And again, you hear about it. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
In the classroom, because like
Absolutely.
I said, as an
Oh,
educator,
yes.
so the kids they're gonna tell it, whether they realize it's wrong or not.
Because that's their norm.
Back to their norm.
Yeah.
It's like no,
they don't even know not to
baby.
tell it.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't even know not to tell
Exactly.
it.
So again, because you have different personalities, I have different households that I have to communicate with.
And as an educator, you can't be like,
got to keep the straight face.
Wait, baby, tell me that again. What? Wait, your mama that I just saw last week did what? So you have to. It's kind of like my face when I look on Facebook and I see people that, for all intents and purposes, are doing the thing. They're in Dubai here, they're in Bali, they're in such and such, and then somebody dies and they're like, "Can we do a GoFundMe?" Not for that person. That person was just in Switzerland last week. How that type of
life insurance.
and not never
Priorities not in order.
Yeah. So, but those are patterns. Those are patterns. So, what do you think that would be, or what do you think? What do you hope would be your takeaway from the book, from writing the book? What do you hope to deposit in people that read it?
Just letting them know that basically. There is life after death, and we can take that spiritually, psychologically. Just letting them know that there's a resurrection, and I think that's most important because you want to be able to get up from that that valley,
right.
And just continue your day to day. So that would be the takeaway because there is power in the resurrection.
Absolutely. Is there another book?
There will be. Yes, some thoughts.
Totally different or piggyback off of that?
It's a piggyback, but I've kind of put it on hold and I want to do something for the kids.
Okay.
But yes, it's a piggyback that's already in motion. But again, like I said, I've put it on hold a bit.
Gotcha.
And where can we find this book?
Oh, yes. You can find
Hold
this
Hold it up so the people can see.
Addictive Patterns. You can find this on the 3 major distributions. Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and Books Amelia. Yes, you can find them there.
And so what's the cost for that?
$14.99.
$14.99. Okay, so $15. So for $45, you can buy 3. And what I always say is buy yourself one, buy somebody you love one, and somebody you don't like one.
Exactly.
Okay? And so we can heal the world if we get all 3 of those people a book. All right. So for $45,
Father's Day coming up.
No, I don't listen. Absolutely not. No. Now listen, I really support you.
Father's
I honestly
Day
do.
up.
No, ma'am. You're not going to listen. Ties, socks.
Phil, put the camera on me.
Ties and socks
Father's
are no
Day is
longer
coming up.
available,
If you're
and a
looking
book
for
is unacceptable as well.
A good
Okay.
gift for your father.
So let's do the
He may
before
have some
Father's Day.
addictive
That's
patterns
fine.
that you want to tell him
After Father's
about.
Day is fine. But no, we
Not
don't
on
want
Father's
it. No,
Day.
no.
Give your
Now, I
daddy
have to
this
draw the
book.
line. Yeah,
Give your daddy
exactly.
this
For
book.
him to throw it. It is not airborne.
Why not? That's the pattern. That's the problem right
Well,
there.
you
Daddy.
already know your daddy. So you know he's going to toss it. So don't give it to him. Allow him to give it to him the day after or the day before.
What if we gift you the book and take you to a resort or something?
Now, thank
you
you.
can read
We
the
can
book.
relax. But now you're
Yes.
talking. Right.
See?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Happy Father's Day.
Right. But just Tori does not operate that way. He would have gotten a book unwrapped and just here.
Yeah.
Not even here. Huh.
Huh.
Hung on your book
I've been
right
trying
here.
to tell you this for the longest.
I didn't say it. It's right here in black and white. Now, what you gonna do
Let
about
me
that?
know what you identify with.
Exactly.
Look at page 30.
On the Sir Rod show, I always give a segment called Sir Rodology. And as I think about addictive patterns, I oftentimes think about when you are in life and you continue to see the same things over and over and over, whether it's good or bad. It's always best to kind of pause, go inside to say, okay, is this a lesson I need to learn? If it is a lesson you need to learn, then you have to figure out, how do I unravel the pattern? Because crazy is not just going to keep coming to you. If crazy keeps coming to you, it's because you're crazy. You know, you're attracting what you are. And so, and I don't mean to make light of mental health issues. I don't mean to in any capacity, but we have to take ownership in what we bring to the table. And what we bring to the table in life is patterns.
Right.
And so what I appreciated about your book is that you take the time to advise individuals, look at the things that keep coming to you and realize there's a cycle to this. This is not just happen chance, you know. It is not, oh, well, I don't know why I keep attracting these same type of people. It's because you're putting out the same thing, you know. They always say you attract what you expel. And so if you know that you like crazy, you know, like
I like drama.
You like drama, you know. And one of the reasons why I married Mrs. Sir Rod is because I was accustomed to, my pattern was I came in when as I chose. I didn't have to answer to somebody. So then when she came in with some, well, listen, I understand your phone usually rings at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
That ain't going to happen. I understand you boundaries.
Used to that, so you
I wasn't used to
the
that.
boundary.
I was attracted to the growth of the boundary.
Yeah.
Because it allowed me to get my proper rest. Then I could think better. Then I could make better professional decisions. And
For the
then
family.
For the family. But when I was running and burning the candle at both ends, because my pattern was do what turns you on, you know, go when you want to, come when you want to, and don't, you know, there's no recourse. So I think that as you begin to recognize your patterns in life, then you will realize that you can take control of them. So the Sir-Rodology of it is stop using excuses of having a pattern. It's a pattern. That's just who I am. That's not true. That's not true. You can be better. You just have to want to be better.
That's just how I am.
That's just who I am.
You don't have to get used to it.
And I hate to hear people say in a relationship, they're trying to change me. Well, every good relationship will change you.
Yeah.
Every good relationship will change. I don't care if it's a friendship, if it's an intimate relationship, it will change you. It should change you for the better because they're going to hold you accountable. You know, they're going to tell you when your slip is hanging, as, you know, the old people used to say, your slip is hanging, baby, come here. You know, you walk into the room, everybody doesn't have to see you first. Just walk in and be part of the you know, hey, okay, you know. So I think that I actually appreciate it, and I'm going to do what I said. I'm going to get the 3 books.
Okay.
And I'm going to give out the 2. The 1 is already taken care of because that's me. But then I'm going to give out the 2. But then I struggle with somebody I don't like because I really don't have those people in my circle. So what I'm going to have to do is just give it to somebody because I don't waste energy on not liking people.
Well, just save it. Maybe you're talking to a friend and you're trying to
I'll get
convince
another
them,
one.
and you say, "Hey, maybe you should read this."
I'm not
book.
going to
Give
save it.
to
I'm going to go ahead and give the 3 because that's how I do. If I'm going to support you, I'm going to get 3: me, them, and who I don't like or who doesn't like me. But I did just think of somebody who doesn't like me. I'd have to send this to them though anonymously.
Now they gonna know. Now they gonna know.
Anonymously. Well, if he's watching the show, then you know he's the one I like, buddy. You know. But no.
Oh my God.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come onto the Sir Rod show.
Thanks for having me.
You're having a book signing?
Yes, actually, book launch, and I say launch because it's going to be more like an event.
All right.
This Friday coming up at 6 p.m. at the Winter Park Event Center. Semi-formal.
Okay. Now let me just. I don't want people to see this and think they can fly into Florida for this because you know we're global. I mean, we're not just local. But for those that are local, were there tickets sold?
Free tickets. You can find it on eventbrite.com. Type in the book title, Addictive Patterns.
Yes.
We have a few tickets left. And they're free.
And so they are free.
Yes.
And what is the attire?
Semi-formal.
Semi-formal. So that means, you know, as your grandmama used to say, you got to get all gussied up.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to be gussied up. You got casket clean, whatever you need. I don't know what the modern vernacular is nowadays. What do they say? You know,
just be camera.
You got to have that drip.
Yeah,
you got to have that drip.
Selfie ready.
Yeah, you got to have that drip.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Say that no more.
They do say drip. They just said it last week. Yeah, they just said it last week.
Not
just
on
Tori
Beyonce's
thinks she
internet.
knows.
Not on Beyonce's internet.
I dare not go against Beehive. Now, whatever they say it is, but let me tell you something. I'm building a show. I'm not going against the Beehive. That we don't have to worry about. But we do want to tell you thank you for coming onto the Sir Rod Show. And as always, just Tori, it was always great having a conversation with you.
You too, sir.
You're getting ready to go on vacation.
Yes.
Oh, it must be nice. So you're going to come back rejuvenated with plenty of questions and opinions and.
No.
Well, in other words, you're going to go and really be on vacation?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll stay here and hold the fort
I
down.
broke a pattern.
What is the pattern for you in that
I didn't
regard?
go on vacations. So now I'm going on a vacation.
Okay. Yeah. See, and
That's a good
I always
thing.
went on vacation. That was my pattern. Vacation more than wanting. I still don't
Maybe
like
you
to
need to
work
break
now.
that and stop going on vacation.
That's not going to happen. That's a positive. That's a positive. If I don't go on vacation, no one's going to want to be around me. That's just not an
excited.
option.
Remember we said if he's not okay.
The family's not okay. Absolutely. I got to make sure we get a soundbite of that, please, Phil. I got to get a soundbite of that. So thank you again for watching, for tuning in to the Sir Rod Show. I am your host, Sir Rod, signing off. And the soon to vacation, Just Tori.
Peace. Everybody take care.
Till the
Happy
next
Father's Day.
conversation.